Now, from sitcoms to adverts and children's books, bumbling dads are everywhere. But new research argues modern fathers are much more hands on and shouldn't be made fun of. And it suggests portraying them as incompetents who can't change a nappy or disappear off to the pub at bath time should be treated as sex discrimination. Well, the research was done by the think tank the Fatherhood Institute. Its CEO, Adrienne Burgess, joins us now from central London, as does Lynn Burnham from the campaign group Mothers at Home Matter. Adrienne Burgess, it may be a little bit of an old-fashioned image of dads, of them being rubbish at doing nappies or putting in the laundry, but is it really discrimination?
Well, yes, it is. It reinforces stereotypes that disadvantage both men and women. Because if you paint the father as incompetent, then what you're at, and the mother as this superior being who has natural skills, then what you're in a sense doing is locating mothers in the kitchen and locating fathers away from it. So it's really sexist on both counts.
That's a good point, isn't it, Lynn Burnham? If you take the mickey out of your husband every time he unloads the dishwasher or something, he's unlikely to do it again, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely, I agree with Adrienne. It is wrong to discriminate like that, but women and mothers often are portrayed in the same vein, in as much as those that choose to stay at home and look after their children. We campaign for mothers that choose to stay at home. They're often portrayed wrongly as stereotypically gone back to the 1950s and back in the kitchen.
Isn't this the case that this is, Adrienne, sorry, this is the case that this is something that women who do stay at home or women who do housework have had to put up with for years and years, this kind of portrayal of it being lesser, of it being menial. And now men are doing it, everyone's just, they are up in arms that they're being denigrated for doing so.
I don't think the fathers are up in arms. I think most of them have internalized this idea that they're pretty irrelevant. I think that generally it's people like the researchers who've been looking at the children's books, who've been looking at Good Housekeeping magazine, who've been looking at the advice that government dishes out to parents, but really to mothers. Those are the people who are saying this is really bad. And stay-at-home mothers have often actually been rather glorified. So you have very old-fashioned views that aren't meeting the realities of family life today or the realities of the aspirations of younger parents.
Then you're shaking your head there. Do you not agree?
I wouldn't say we've been glorified at all. I think we've been vilified. I think mothers at home are often told that they're worthless, that they're not really contributing to society, when in fact they contribute a huge amount to society. I think it's all about women, mothers have boys, and I think it's really important to actually get across the view to the boys as they're growing up that they can play a huge role in the upbringing of their children. Inevitably, at the beginning, it's the mother that has the baby. We're not going to do away with that. That's what happens. That we're animals, we're mammals, and mammals breastfeed their babies. And there's a lot of oxytocin. This is the love hormone that's released when a baby is born, and that really is something that should be celebrated. And mothers are naturally going to bond with their babies. That doesn't mean, of course, that a father can't bond in a different way.
Adrienne, just because the father possibly doesn't have the same oxytocin release on childbirth, does that necessarily mean that they are less able to sort the washing out?
No, because in fact fathers do have an oxytocin release, very substantial, once they're caring for children. So if you put a baby against the father and you hold that, and he has the baby for about 15 minutes, his body will start to change quite dramatically. The love hormones that she's been talking about flood in. So actually men become, the way mothers, it's not just giving birth that brings the hormones into women's bodies. Adoptive mothers who never give birth also get the hormones. And this is a release that happens in both sexes. It's not that mothers are more naturally able to connect and bond with their babies. Parents do it in very similar ways, given half a chance.
Lynn, the kind of things that Fatherhood Institute are talking about are portrayals in literature. Now, just thinking about the kind of books that my kids have enjoyed over the years. Peppa Pig, Daddy Pig, he's pretty useless. He can't hang up a picture. He can't do a great deal. Mummy Pig works at home and she sort of rules the roost and is very competent. There's Mr. Large in Charge, which is the story of what happens when mum goes away and dad's left in charge. And even the King and Ben and Holly, these are all male role models that are being shown to young children at the moment, where the man is shown as being a bit wacky and a bit useless around the house?
Yeah, well, again, we're gender stereotyping men, and it's wrong. But then again, kids. I don't know that if they're used to having mum at home looking after the children, then Peppa Pig's going to appeal to them. I don't know. It's this isn't something that's new. This is something that's been going on for many years. Lots of Cinderella, all the fairy tale stories are in a similar vein. It's just actually we should now recognise that we're all human, that we all can have a caring side to us. And, you don't have to be a birth mother. Adrienne's absolutely right. But inevitably, with breastfeeding, which only a mum can do, and which is recommended by the World Health Organization, the oxytocin that's released when you breastfeed a child is substantial, and that should never be denigrated. And obviously, with the push that this government's giving towards getting mums back to work earlier and earlier, then the breastfeeding rates are going to just go down dramatically.
But of course, Lynn, lots of mums can't breastfeed. Lots of mums would dearly like to, and they just don't find themselves able to. It doesn't mean they love their kids less or are less suited to look after them.
No, absolutely. I'm not saying that you can't be a good mum or that you don't get the closeness with your baby if you bottle feed. Absolutely not. But it is, if you can breastfeed, then that's what the World Health Organization strongly recommends.
Okay. Adrienne, it's a controversial question that I'm going to put to you. Are women just better at multitasking? Are women generally better around the house? And, I'm hearing howls of derision in my ear from the news gallery.
Yes, the howls of derision are correct. So there aren't gender differences in multitasking. That's been pretty well studied. What you get is differences between managers and people who are below the manager. So managers multitask. You think of a guy or a woman running a bar. They're doing all kinds of things at once, taking an order, thinking about the stock, all those sort of things. That's multitasking all the time. And mothers are generally in the managerial role at home. So even if the dad is doing a lot, and for care of kids under 5, the fathers are now doing 1/3 of it overall, half as much as the mothers.
But and a lot of grandparents as well. It's a real mixture, isn't it now?
It is a mixture, but if you look at fathers, and this is about the growth in fathers' input, it's massive over 50 years. And the fact that they're still actually more responsible for breadwinning, bringing home more, working longer hours, the fact that they've managed to have this rapid increase in care of very young children is pretty astonishing. Okay, and so that's how things have changed.
Okay, Adrienne Burgess and Lynn Burnham, they must leave it. And maybe it's just lazy advertising, one contributor suggested on Twitter just a short time ago.